All right, folks, let's begin. I am going to officially welcome you all to the March webinar for the Religion Communicators Council, also known as the RCC. We were founded in 1929, celebrating 95 years this year. I am Teresa Faust. I'm the president of RCC. Before we start our webinars, I always take a moment and I'm going to read our mission statement to kind of get us grounded in what we're doing here today. The Religion Communicators Council is a professional association that provides opportunities for networking and professional development for communicators of faith-based organizations. RCC recognizes and cultivates excellence in communications of religious faith and values while advancing religious literacy. So our monthly webinars are one of the opportunities for networking and professional development that we offer. And that's what we're here doing today. Emerging trends in social media. Pardon me, I was trying to look for the official title of today's webinar. Emerging trends in social media. Before we jump in, I also like to take a moment to do very brief introductions. We don't have a lot of time for deep dive introductions, but I do find that it helps those of us attending, and it helps potentially even the presenter to get a feel for who the audience is, and they can kind of nuance the presentation as we go. And you will find this may be an interactive experience today, perhaps more so than you had anticipated. So heads up, here we go. I told you I am the president of RCC. I am also the research manager at United Methodist Communications, and I live in Dayton, Ohio. So if you will, name your title and maybe perhaps where you're located, and we'll keep it short and sweet. I am going to look at my screen and choose people as we go. And I'm going to start with, and we'll save the speaker for last. I'm going to start with Andrew. I know you gave us a intro before, but do a quick one now for those that have joined since you started before.
I'm retired from Southern Seminary in Louisville, where I was director of media services for 40 years. And I'm now in Daytona Beach, Florida, where I volunteer with my congregation and do web work and some social media.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to jump to Kathy Williams, please.
I'm Kathy Williams. I'm the I work for the Ursuline Sisters of Louisville as their communications director, and am in Louisville, Kentucky, where our conference in April is going to be.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Kathy. Next, Shantae Barrett.
Hi, I am a member of the marketing and communications department at ABHMS, American Baptist Home Mission Societies. And I also do like the social media, and I'll be responsible for working with the public relations people and getting word out on our website and things like that. So
Welcome. Thank you. Next, I'm going to jump to Anne Rayfelt.
Indeed. I'm Ann Rayfelt, Director of Communications at Fourth Presbyterian Church in downtown Chicago, though I'm currently working remotely from Rochester, Minnesota.
All right. Thank you. Welcome. Brian Fessler.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Reverend Brian Fessler, and I'm the treasurer for RCC on the national board. And my day job, quote unquote, is I'm the pastor at the Church of Scientology in Nashville, Tennessee.
All right. Thanks. Welcome. Katrina Buchanan.
Hi, I'm Katrina. I also work at Fourth Presbyterian Church in Chicago with Anne.
We love Fourth Pres. Been up there for our convention a few times.
That's right. Thank you, Brian, for the reminder. Fabulous place. All right. Next up, Roya James. Roya is muted and no picture. I'm going to pass. Oh, okay. She's here. Did you guys see? She's put a message in the chat. United Methodist Communications in Nashville, Senior Manager of U.S. Conference Relations. And Karen.
Hi, Karen Krieger. I am in the DC area with the ELCA, Evangelical Lutheran Church in America advocacy staff.
All right. I think that's everyone except our speaker. So we are going to pivot now in that direction. I want to introduce our speaker. Her name is Katie Allred. She founded the churchcommunications.com website. She leads an online community of well over 30,000 church leaders from all over the world. She teaches at universities, speaks at conferences, and writes at katieallred.com. Katie is a thought leader in marketing, business, and Christian leadership. And today she's going to share her social media expertise. I will turn it over to Katie now to do a presentation and let her know, or let her share with you how she would like to interact with you, question answers, that sort of thing as we dialogue. But while she's speaking, please put yourself on mute and we'll take it from there. So welcome, Katie.
Thanks so much, Teresa. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be with y'all today. I am also in Nashville, Tennessee, so I see we also have some other Nashvillians. I'm down here in Nolensville, so a little bit more on the south side of things. And it was fun to see a Kathy Williams. Kathy Williams was my second grade teacher, so she also went to my church growing up. So I was like, oh, Kathy, what are you doing in here, you know? Also blonde, so like you really have a lot in common. So yeah, I'm going to share my presentation, and it is going to be slightly different than probably what you're used to. If you have done a Mentimeter before, then you are familiar with this, but if not, then we shall learn together. And it's going to be so much fun. I love this presentation software because it's interactive and we get to learn together and kind of see I don't know, as we build along. So I am going to go ahead and go over to the next slide. And this is how you're going to interact. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. I actually really recommend you use your phone because I know that you have this screen open for your presentation. Unless you have two screens like I do over here, it could get complicated fairly quickly. So yeah, I recommend just scanning the QR code with your phone. And when you do, it's going to pull up a website and it's going to be blank with just a thumbs up button. All right. Then you can just hit that thumbs up button and you are logged in. Okay, I see we got 8 thumbs up, 10, 11. All right. I'll give you one more second. Is anybody confused? Don't know how to get there? Lovely. Oh, we have some more new people. So much fun. Hello. Okay. Yeah, again, scan the QR code with your phone, and then you will be logged into the presentation so that you can participate as we go along, because there will be polls and questions and whatnot. So I don't want you to miss out on the fun, the excitement. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so my next question is, do you want a copy of this deck? I found that people at the end of it always ask me to have a copy of the deck. So I'm just giving you a quick little form. If you want a copy of the deck, I will gladly send you one, and you can have this for later. So if you just want to enter your name and email, then great. If you don't, also fine. You can just skip ahead. So once we go to the next slide, I'll give you a few minutes or a second to do that. I always think that, you know, this is missing, that Zoom's missing like cool waiting music. You know, I mean, I think you can do that now, but it's really just needs to be easier for me to hit fun music. Okay, all right. The next slide is, I would like to know where you are located. So please place a pin on the map of where you're located. I know we went around and kind of talked about it, but we have some new people. So go ahead and place your location on the map so we can kind of see where everybody's at. Now, if you're not in the United States, congratulations. That sounds incredible. You can just put yourself in the ocean if you would like. But I think for the most part, most of us are in the United States. So we've got a lot of Ohioans, got some Californians. Oh, nice. Ooh, all right. A lot of people in the north. Okay. Awesome. Let's keep going. All right. When you're using social media, which platform do you feel like you use the most for your church's content? Is it Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or YouTube? We've got a lot of votes for Facebook. And I feel the same way. I think a lot of churches use Facebook quite a bit. Okay, a couple votes for Instagram. No YouTubers. Pretty surprising. Okay. So Facebook, yeah, for the most part, I find that a lot of churches are really great at using Facebook. Go ahead, Shantae. You raised your hand.
Hi, so I could only choose one, and we use it through the Meta Suite. So we use Facebook and Instagram simultaneously.
Okay.
And we do upload content to YouTube, but we use the Facebook and Instagram the most.
The most. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I kind of lump those two together as well often. So although I will say they're very distinct platforms, and also very distinct demographics that are using those platforms as well. So we can talk about that somewhat. How would you describe your church's social media right now? Would you say it's scattered? Would you say it's planned? Would you say it's growing? It's stagnant? Diverse? Shantae, you raise your hand again?
Yes, sorry. I just want to make sure everybody knows, like, ours is a ministry organization, a professional ministry organization, not a church.
Yeah,
So
that's
a little different. It's okay. Okay.
yeah. I use the word church, but really I use it in a holistic way. It could be organization. That's totally fine. Yeah. Okay, so we've got some dispersed. We got some hit or miss. Yeah, hit and miss. That's often unengaged. Okay. Some are engaging, so that's good. Organized, frequent, fun. A little chaotic. Okay. In need of some help. All right. Great. Well, maybe by the end of this, we can have some ideas about how we can grow your social media and get it to be more engaged. If you're not, who am I? That's a good question. So I, like Teresa said, I founded churchcommunications.com back in 2015. It started as a Facebook group. It's still a Facebook group. So if you want to go and hang out or ask me questions anytime, feel free to join the Facebook group and hang out and ask comms related questions. I wrote the textbook on church communications about a couple of years ago, I guess at this point. I work full-time for Missional Marketing and I do curriculum there. And then I'm also the Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator Discord moderator. So if you haven't joined Discord, this could be a good time for you to learn. It is crazy how many people of Generation Alpha and Z are on Discord. And I was really surprised by its usage. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about Discord actually in a minute, but I was actually really surprised by the growth that's happening there, and being a part of the Adobe team has helped me realize the growth that's happening. And then also I formerly worked at Meta. I was faith partnership lead for a year or two, and then I was community partnership lead. And in those roles, I oversaw first faith organizations that were using the platform from all faiths across the world. And then I oversaw community partnerships in North America. So I oversaw Facebook groups in North America for a little while. So I don't know. That was a interesting time. And then I've been a professor at several universities and taught as well. Okay, so content is evolving. It's or I would say even maybe devolving. It's funny how long form content is making a comeback. I think that people are finding blogs and written content uh, is really being brought back in a more meaningful way. I think that we are seeing a lot of platforms returning to longer form content. TikTok even has changed the length of video that you can upload to TikTok up to 10 minutes now, and actually are encouraging creators to upload longer videos. And so while short form video still reigns supreme today, I think we will see longer form video, longer form content continue to go up and trend up in creation. So just an example that I kind of created, like maybe the Salvation Army published a blog post and they share some of it on social media and they link to the full article. What topics could you see covered in long form content, maybe by your favorite nonprofit or your nonprofit or organization that you're working for now? Feel free to unmute if you'd like.
I'm gonna just say real quick, if for no other reason to get the conversation started, maybe what I would call explainers.
Yeah.
Okay, around maybe difficult to understand topics or complex situations. Is
Yeah.
that a good starting point?
That's good. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for felt need content. And also, yeah, explaining videos of how to do things or why we're doing things the way that we're doing them. Uh, felt need content for me is like depression or seeking help specifically with something. I think that we don't have enough content locally around these topics, and Google would actually prefer to send people to a local authority on depression, on prayer, on all those different topics. But often we don't have that longer form content on our website. We don't have it necessarily in our social media, and therefore it has no place to send it. Actually, today I saw in the news on social, I think it was social media today, they were talking about how Google just now started like embedding social media posts from businesses inside of Google My Business. So your social media posts are now showing up underneath as well, like as part of that content that they are searching. And so I think, the more content we can put out, like longer form content, the better. And again, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. So we need to start putting out some longer explainer type videos. Yeah. Or different kinds of content. What else?
I'm sorry, you said YouTube is what?
YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world.
Wow.
It is
okay.
owned by Google. So, I mean, obviously they are very good at search. What I have found though, and we'll talk about that in a second, is that social media is becoming a search engine in itself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so Justin Welsh is one of my favorite creators on LinkedIn. He's actually a Nashvilleian, and he creates this long form content that's really actually not that long. It's pretty short form, but I've seen such a huge rise in the use of LinkedIn and the use of this longer form written content across platforms that encourage writing. So I think we're going to see this to continue to grow. Okay, so what's your favorite type of long form content on social media? It could be articles, it could be video series, could be podcasts, or maybe there's some other types that I haven't mentioned here. I'd love to know what those might be. And then, like, what type of video series are you watching? Is it YouTube video series? Is it TikTok series? You know, I think a lot of people get really involved or get really into those TikTok series. I'm sure maybe y'all heard about there was like this one woman who created like 50 TikToks to explain a story recently, and it got a lot of traction, right? And it was a series of videos. And I think about, you know, are we creating that kind of excitement or interest around our video series? Okay, yeah. So you know what's fun is that okay, if you think about it, which one of these keeps your interest the longest? Which one keeps your attention the longest?
I want to jump in and say, I love that question, and it made me think, which one of these can I multitask? So am I really focused on something, or am I doing something else at the same time?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I mean, I would say if you're listening to a podcast, you can do other things. If you're listening to a video, I mean, I guess my point is, what would keep my your question is what keeps my interest, or what was
Yeah.
the question again?
What keeps your interest the longest? Yeah.
Right. Well, and I guess I just went to thinking that if I was reading an article, I'd probably be being more focused on the article versus a video or a podcast. I might be distracted because I could do something else at the same time. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, the video series keeps me engaged. I don't necessarily watch it, but I do listen to it.
Yeah.
I like to listen while I drive because, you know, sometimes music can relax me a little too much. And so you don't want to relax so much when you're driving. And listening to videos that are engaging keeps my mind alert. So I stay focused. And even if I can't finish it all in one sitting, I'll pause it, and then when I start doing something else that I can listen, then I start it right back up and continue to listen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. For sure, definitely podcast is probably the longest form of content. And of course, it may not keep your attention the whole time, but often people are driving and listening, and or they, like you said, they might be doing other things, but they're still listening. And so you know, how many of you are actually creating podcasts for your listeners, or maybe even or for your audience, or if you are church, maybe you're creating a podcast, but it's just the Sunday sermon. Well, that's interesting to a certain point, sure, for people who are missing, but what else are you creating on a regular basis that people can engage with and learn from? Uh, this typically is one of the longer forms of content that people engage with. So I find that that's the truth. Articles are great, and I think that they're going to continue to grow. Like I said, I think that long form content is going to continue to grow.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I'm just like looking at my phone or computer, the articles draw me in more.
Yeah.
Definitely when I'm driving, I'll listen to a podcast. Videos on social media, I mean, I lose interest after a couple minutes unless it's super engaging. So I try to keep our videos fairly short that I post, which
Yeah.
kind of goes against what you were saying earlier, though.
No, and well, here's the thing. Right now, short-term video is king. Like
Okay.
you know, I think right now you're doing the right thing. I think though that we are going to see these platforms continue to encourage people to post longer videos because the longer they're watching, the longer they're on the platform, and obviously the more ad money that that platform can make. So I think we're going to see them to encourage that usage. But right now, short form video is the thing to do. Reels, Instagram, Facebook, I think are still being really pushed. YouTube Shorts, I think are exploding right now. I think a lot of this short form content though is going to drive to the longer form content, and that's what we're trying to see is that they don't want them to just create short form content. They want them to create longer form content. So when somebody does get invested, there's something else there for them to really get involved with.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so storytelling. I think we're going to see a lot of different creative storytelling I guess methods used, and I can see that we're going to think of doing unexpected edits, maybe some fragmented timelines popping in. In the hero's journey, it often starts in the middle of the action. So how can we do the same kind of thing? We're also going to have a lot more audience participation, I believe, in the future too, just like I'm doing with this Mentimeter platform. I can see that we're going to have a little bit more creative storytelling. So an example I put was maybe like a youth ministry creates a TikTok series that's following a fictional character's faith journey, and each video ends with a question, engaging video viewers in the comments. And I do have an example here of one that I just randomly found on TikTok on my For You page that popped up. And I was like, oh, well, this is an interesting like example of a TikTok story that people could do. I'm gonna see.
Said to God, don't think you're.
Can you hear that? Great.
If I'm wrong, prove it. 2 weeks come and go. I didn't even remember praying that prayer. There was zero faith attached to my prayer. And as I was dialing a phone off behind me to my left, I audibly heard the voice of God. And the 2 words he spoke to me were, call mom.
Okay, so we obviously have no idea what's going on in the story. We have jumped into the middle of it. And again, this is just showing that there's a lot of different ways to storytell, and we don't always just have to start at the beginning. Often jumping right into the action is more intriguing for a lot of people, and I can see that that's going to be.
I didn't hesitate. Phone rang 6 times, 7 times. On the 8th ring, my mother answered the telephone, and when she said hello, instantly I knew something was terribly wrong. When I hear God say to me, call mom, and I did so, my mother was attempting suicide. Ran out of my office, jumped into my car, drove Interstate 75 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I drove up this interstate and I talked to this God I did not know. God, help. I can't save my mom, but you can. My mom was barely alive. She came down some stairs. She fell into my arms. I picked her up. I carried her to her car. I drove her to Park Ridge Hospital. As we drove, she looked over at me. She says, Dean, I can't be dying. And I said, Mom, hey, no, you're not going to die, but you're going to have to choose to live. I get her to a hospital. A doctor threw me against the wall. They rushed her to the emergency room. 45 minutes later, this doctor walks across the ER. But this doctor has the most perplexed look on his face. And he said, Mr. Sykes, there's no medical reason to tell you this at all. It is a, quote, miracle of God. You can go see her. I looked straight up to heaven. I was like, you're real? I took a walk that day. I could take you to the spot in Park Ridge Hospital where I leaned against the wall and I had an encounter with Jesus.
So not a very long video, but very impactful. And again, it just starts in the middle of the story. I think there's a lot we can learn from that. It doesn't always have to be that dramatic of a story to get your point across, but I think just having that different way of storytelling helps draw us in. I find a lot of Gen Zers start maybe in the middle of an interview and then bring us back to the beginning of an interview, right? They'll show like, oh, that was a funny clip like in the middle of this interview, and then they'll come back and bring the rest of the interview right after. And it's just one way to draw your viewers in. Questions, thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was great. I actually like that example. Yeah, that was great. And it was very powerful. So I like that a lot.
Thanks. Okay, so let's talk about some engagement shifts. I have found that people, well, for the longest time, people just wanted, when we talked about metrics, just wanted followers. And that was their main metric, was I just want more followers. I don't know that that's necessarily the best. Actually having less followers but more engagement is typically better actually for your brand, because that means the people who are following you actually do care about what you're doing. And so I think we're going to see some engagement shifts though, from liking being the main engagement to sharing becoming the main engagement. Because I think a lot of this engagement is going into the DMs now. So instead of being shared publicly, like reshared, reposted, it's going to be DM'd to a friend. Okay, it's going to be privately messaged. So encouraging sharing is probably going to be more impactful than encouraging someone to like or comment even. And so just an example here I put was maybe a local soup kitchen post a video thanking their volunteers and donors, and they encourage shares to raise awareness around their soup kitchen. Okay, so what kind of content are you most likely to share with your network? But yeah, are you seeing this to be true in your social media right now? Maybe not yet.
Yeah, not yet. We get a lot of likes, and then if I post video, then we'll get shares on the
Mhm.
video.
Yeah. Well, that is part of why this is an emerging trend. So I definitely think that people are going to start we're going to start seeing that what we really want is people to share our content more than we want them to like it. Because that's getting our message further, right? Like what we're trying to share to our people and build our audience with, we want it to be shared amongst people who are similar.
Katie, I'm curious on that, and maybe this is just totally obvious.
Yeah.
I get why shares, I get that, because yeah, that means people hopefully are more engaged.
Hmm.
Are people literally just saying, please share? How do you encourage shares outside of saying, please share this with your network? Please share. I mean, what is motivating? Are we literally asking people to share? Are there more subtle ways, or what is an effective way to share?
Yeah. So I would
That's what we're
say,
getting.
no,
Okay.
that's a good question. We don't want to be like clickbaitish or share baitish or whatever. There's an engagement bait. Excuse me, that's the term that Facebook used, and so where it said like don't write the words like and share in your post on Facebook because that's engagement bait and it actually will demote your post. So if you were doing that, don't do it anymore. Encouraging people to like and share or like and comment is not really recommended. But I think creating the compelling content that people want to share that has like a message that resonates is probably our best bet. I think you can encourage people to share in a video at the end and make that your call to action at the end of your videos. I don't think that's going to be engagement bait, but I think asking people to do that maybe in the caption itself would probably be considered engagement bait. Now, the question is TikTok, I don't think they have the same rules. So I would say you could probably ask people to share on TikTok, like in the caption itself. But I know in Meta and Facebook, they care about that and they'll actually like deprioritize you in the algorithm if you ask people to like, comment, or share. So in those cases on Meta's platforms, I would just ask for that in a video itself, maybe at the end as the call to action.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the details around the specifics. And I know, I mean, in this slide, you're literally asking us what would make us share.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what
We've
actually
got right
makes you
to it.
share things with your friends, right? Like for me, I share stuff on TikTok all day with my friends. Like, when I'm just like watching it during a moment or whatever, maybe I'm watching it during my lunch break and I'll share stuff with different friends. And what I find is that most of the stuff I share is humorous, right? Or it is educational in some type of way for me. Like that's what I'm typically sharing is, oh, I figured out like a problem that I'm trying to solve, or I got a quick laugh out of this. So, when it comes to, what is your content? A lot of people, are we posting across these different categories of content? Are we only posting one type of content? Is it always inspiring? Is it always educational? Is it always humorous? Because I do think we need a mix. Or is it always emotional? I think we do need a mix of the four to kind of keep our audience engaged. You wouldn't want to watch the same kind of movie every day. That gets boring. Eventually, you're going to want to watch a drama instead of a romantic comedy. Like, you're going to want to watch something different. So, mixing up the type of content you're posting, I think, will just increase your viewership across the way.
Katie, something I've seen that was kind of worked for me, and it's kind of a subtle way into it, kind of a tag at the end of it is, who do you know that also needs to hear this message?
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. No, that's really good. Okay. Direct messaging takes center stage. This is where I was going to talk a little bit about Discord. I think we're going to see a lot of public feeds move private. So I think we saw this a lot with Facebook moving from pages to groups, and then there's so much engagement inside of private groups specifically. But I do think we're going to also see these platforms that are direct messaging experiences really explode, like Discord. There's also another platform called Geneva. There's so many different platforms actually that do this kind of direct messaging. Discord started as a gaming platform and it's still fairly gamey. If you're in there, it still looks very techie in a way, I guess. I see that Jenny posted a link to the Discord. Y'all have an RCC Discord channel or server. And so you can get in there and at least get started and try and see what it's like. But again, I recommend just joining some different Discord servers and seeing what that experience is, because I do think that we are moving towards this. Now, is it something you need to do today? Not necessarily. But I do think it is something to consider, especially if you're looking for ways to directly communicate with your audience.
Katie, would you say this would apply more towards audiences of, say, 35 and younger? Because our audience skews older, and I honestly cannot see us successfully having a Discord.
Sure, yeah, I definitely would say it probably does skew probably 30 and younger. I'm 34 and I don't think there's a ton of people my age on the platform or using it on a regular basis. So I definitely think it's younger. And so, but those younger people will become older fairly fairly soon, right? And so what we found is that, you know, when they start using something like TikTok even, right? We thought nobody would use it when it was Musical.ly or whatever in 2016 or 2017. And now here we are today, and that's all we use, right? And so I think we can see that it's going to probably grow in popularity. But again, I do think it's a really great way to broadcast messages to your community very specifically and not have to pay to play in order to do that.
Yeah, and I could see it being beneficial for like older congregants who want to talk directly to a specific group and not be all on social media like that. And it's a way in which some of them might feel a little lonely, but then they feel more connected. Like I said, without all of the extra noise that comes with being on a TikTok or Instagram or Facebook.
For sure, yeah. There's definitely a lot less noise because there's just no advertising on a Discord channel. It's just the chat room, and you can join exactly the ones that you want to join and subscribe to. So, and I don't see that changing really on Discord. So I can see where the appeal is going to continue to grow. And again, like I said, a lot of the sharing is going into the DMs, and this is just a DMing platform in a way. So we're going to see that kind of community and social media grow. Right now, how do you prefer to engage with organizations on social media? We've got a mix here of public comments and direct messages. I would say right now it's probably, for me, I see a lot more public comments of, especially with organizations, but when it comes to me personally, I don't really comment on my friends' stuff, but I will message them directly and say, hey, I thought that was funny or whatever. Like, I find that a lot more people are messaging me instead of commenting when it comes to me personally. And I think that's only a matter of time before they also start doing that with organizations. But I do think broadcast channels, indirect messaging are going to continue to grow, just like text messaging is growing as a form of communication instead of email. I can see where direct messaging from organizations is going to continue to grow. All right, so the rise of authenticity. Again, I talked a little bit about long form content, and in that I think there's a lot of traction happening, popularity happening amongst text only posts. So I've seen actually even text only posts working really well as reels, and continuing to work really well, obviously on Facebook or on LinkedIn. I think we're going to see a lot of this text only post kind of growing, even if it's on a video. So, an example was a church leader sharing a Bible verse on a reel, and then also maybe reflecting on its meaning to go a little bit further on just the text itself. So, I guess my question to you is, what makes a short video stand out to you on social media?
Well, one thing for me is it has to start doing something quickly. If
Yeah.
there's a big lead up, I'll flip on to the next video, just like.
Yeah,
Listen.
yeah. I need you to tell me what I'm looking at it for right away.
Yeah, why are we here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously being authentic, right? Like if it's just a video with a bunch of stock images, I'm probably not that interested in what's going on. And I'll probably switch pretty quickly. But if, there's a compelling storyline or reason or person and they jump right into the action, I'm going to be more interested in that. So when you're thinking about text only posts, do you engage with them? And then also, like, what kind of posts, what type of posts do you often engage with the most if you are engaging with text only post? I find that I personally probably engage the most with personal stories. So, like, if somebody shares a story, I'm probably going to engage with it. Um, I think questions are also really good, but at the same time, I don't find a ton of people asking text only questions as much as they probably should be. They were a really popular means of engagement in like 2015. Yeah, so we got inspirational quotes, news updates. Again, I think having a mix of these is really important. I don't think there's one specific that's the best. I think obviously having a mix and seeing what works best for your audience is going to make the most sense. Transparency reigns supreme. So showing the unfiltered, behind the scenes content often builds trust with our audience. So the example I gave was maybe a nonprofit posted a Facebook Live video showing a day in the life of job training program participants. I think these day in the life videos, get ready with me videos, uh, showing, what's actually going on behind the scenes is going to continue to grow. And people are really interested in, like, what is it like to be a priest? What is it like to be the person that's in your shoes? And so showing that kind of content again in maybe a non-linear fashion in an interesting storytelling method, I think is going to continue to grow. But just being authentic and being real, it doesn't have to be super edited. It doesn't have to be clean. It can be a Facebook Live. You're walking around a soup kitchen live and, talking to people or whatever. It doesn't have to necessarily be a super edited event or video or even like post a text only post. It can be pretty unedited as long as you're really showing authentically what's going on behind the scenes. How important is authenticity in social media to you? Okay, we've got pretty much very important. And that's just the case. I think we're seeing this major shift from organizations to individual creators in a way. And I think we're going to want organizations to continue to be a face, like to have a face. And whether that is, obviously that's probably going to be somebody on staff or multiple people on staff. And we want to just show them authentically like who that person is, but also who our organization is. Okay, so I think we're going to continue to see AI integration expand. There's already a lot of AI integration in Meta Ads on the Meta Ad platform. So you may have seen some of that. You may have even seen some AI in Facebook groups. I've seen some myself where you can have them rewrite your posts for you before you share it. We're going to continue to see content creation created in AI. I personally love to use ChatGPT. I use it on a regular basis, not necessarily for creating content because I feel like it doesn't get the voice correct, but I do think it does a great job of helping you plan and helping you think ahead and giving you a good starting point with your content. And there's other platforms besides ChatGPT. There's Claude, and it does a great job as a writing platform, a tool again. But there's also, you know, other AI platforms for social media like Predis, if you haven't heard of that one. And there's going to be so many more. I would love to say like, oh, there's just a few. There's like so many, and every day there's a new one. So I recommend joining like websites like producthunt.com, and you can kind of stay on the edge of learning what those new platforms are, those new tools for creating for social media might be. Has anybody seen an AI integration that they're really enjoying?
Can you, Katie, did you say an AI integration that they're really enjoying?
Yeah, or an AI tool.
Okay.
Yeah, that you're using for social media.
I'm gonna say no. I haven't been a big,
Haven't done it yet.
I'm not a big AI person. And I'm also more a researcher than a communicator. I just wanted to clarify the question. I'm hopeful someone will speak up, but maybe not. I don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Yeah. Is anybody else using AI yet in their creation? Yeah, Roya here says I use ChatGPT most often. I do too. I use it every day, multiple times a day. Just to
What do you use it for, Katie? I'm curious.
Yeah, I use it to organize my thoughts a lot. I use it to rewrite emails. I use it to reply to emails. I use it to help me come up with a content strategy. I can be like, I want to make a content strategy for my book. Let's say that, you know. What questions do you have for me to make the best content strategy possible? So I actually ask ChatGPT to ask me questions. Then I'll take those. It'll probably ask me 20 plus questions. I'll answer those 20 plus questions. It'll probably ask me like, what is your target audience? You know, who are you planning on, you know, distributing it to, blah, blah, blah. And I'll answer those 20 plus questions, give it back to it, and it will spit out a pretty decent starting point for a content strategy. Then I might say, okay, take this content strategy and help me plan the next 90 days of content. And it will give a good starting point for that. And so it's kind of wild and crazy the amount of stuff. We're actually doing an AI course in church communications coming up pretty soon because there is so much to learn. There's so many new parts of it. So I'll be teaching that. My friend David Thorne will be teaching some of that, just because there's so much that you can do with it, and it really helps save you so much time. So yeah, and then Roy over here is talking about Grammarly is also really good. They have a great AI tool now inside of Grammarly where you can, you know, so I grade homework obviously every day. And sometimes I'm not the most constructive feedback person. I can just be like, well, you should have done this, but you didn't. You know? And you could actually right click and say, make it constructive. And it will actually make it sound way nicer than the way I made it sound. And so there's so many good things that come along with that. So I will see if I can get the link for the AI training over to you and you can share it. Yeah, Teresa, question. Okay, yeah.
No
Yeah,
question.
Katie, just send it to me and I'll get it out to everybody.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I can make a note here to share that in the email, the follow-up email in the form. as well. So, um, cool. Questions about that? Now, how do you feel about it? I think a lot of people feel like there's a lot of feelings for sure about AI.
I don't really know enough about it, to be honest. I mean, I know what I see. I know what I hear, how it's fake and it, it's doesn't have feeling to it. Some people find it helpful.
Mhm.
And I just haven't explored it enough.
Yeah.
I, one of those folks that leans on my own creativity for things. So,
Mhm.
but I guess I need to open up because it's coming, it's here, and it's not going anywhere. So,
Yeah, and it can feel icky if you're I think if you're using it to like literally do your like if you're using it to write your sermon, that's wrong. Like there are some things that need to come from you, that need to come from the heart, because obviously authenticity is really important in social media. And so AI feels like the opposite of authenticity, but it doesn't have to be that way. I think you can use it as a tool to increase your authenticity, to just help you gain some brain space so that you can be more creative in a way. So using it to like schedule and to organize your thoughts. Brian, you unmuted, so I wanted to see if you had a question.
Well, I was going to say, I kind of consider it like, remember when, maybe you're too young, but back in the day when drum machines came into the music scene, and it was a big debate, do we use a drum machine or do we use a drummer? And now everybody's sampling and everything, and it's just kind of an accepted part of music that there are some electronic and some artificial
Yeah.
mechanical influences in the music. But I think that's going to be the way it is, and I think there's always going to be a place for humans, actual intelligence. I mean, AI, it's in the name, it's artificial.
Yep.
We know the word artifice is something made by man. It's man-made, so it's man-made intelligence from the start. But
Yep.
it's artificial, and if we use it as a tool, it can be used for good or it can be used for evil. And I think we're all church communicators, so hopefully we'll all use it for something good.
Yeah, that's our hope. I like to think of it like a wheelbarrow. You could build a wall without a wheelbarrow, I guess, but like if you had a bunch of bricks, right, and you needed to move them from point A to point B, it sure would be a lot easier with a wheelbarrow than it would be to move the bricks just by hand. All it does is it's a tool that helps you get things moving along much faster. So I actually got started on Discord by using Midjourney, which is an AI image creator. Again, can be used for evil, but also can be used for good. I think to show these images, you can make awesome images from the Bible that obviously you couldn't do just a couple years ago using Midjourney. So it's a neat tool, but again, it's just a tool. So how comfortable are you with AI generated content, or are you comfortable with it? Okay, we've got a whole bunch of across the board. We don't know yet. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, I know we're wrapping things up, so I'm actually gonna skip past this, but I think social commerce is gonna continue to be a big thing. If you have a shop, as a way to like obviously increase like donations or whatever, I think that people are going to like to increase buying through social platforms. So TikTok shop, Instagram shop, people are going to continue shopping in e-commerce platforms. Uh, I talked about this for a second earlier, but the search engine shift, I think we need to start organizing our content with relevant keywords when we are creating social media posts. So the captions, the hashtags, all of that, just making sure that it does have relevant keywords so that people can find it when they are searching, because I think TikTok is increasingly going to be a search engine. I use it as a search engine already, and I don't think I'm the person they're trying to reach as their person who's trying to use it as a search engine. But for sure, people in their 20s are using it as a search engine. So just, figuring out ways to make sure that you're using those hashtags for discoverability, those kind of things. And we'll keep going ahead because I know we have only a few minutes, and I want to make sure if you have any questions. Feel free to ask me any questions you would like. You can post them here, or you can just turn on your mic and speak. That's fine too.
Well, I have a question.
Oh, yeah.
How can, I reached out a couple of years ago when I was president of the RCC. I remember trying to reach out to you and the other fellow that started the church communications group to see how we can interact more, how we can help what you're doing, and
Yeah.
what ideas do you have in that regard? RCC, you probably read a little bit about us. We've been around since 1929. It's professionals in public relations and communications.
Yeah, for sure. I've loved doing this, so thanks for reaching out again. I think that joining the Facebook group is a big part of being interactive. I think we could figure out some other ways to continue to engage on a more meaningful basis, for sure. Excuse me. Lost my voice. Hate when that happens.
I like your question, Brian, and I think that maybe that's just kind of leading us to let's stay in contact and see if there are more opportunities in the future to work on things that we have in common, because it sounds like there's probably some overlap between what we're doing here and what you're doing, Katie, with churchcommunications.com.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree.
Any other questions or comments for Katie?
Well, this was great. Thank you for putting something together. It was very informative. And some things were new introductions to me. I had never heard of the Discord app, so that's something I'll definitely introduce to my organization. And yeah, I would like to keep following you and be alerted of the next time.
Yes, this has been very helpful for me.
Good.
Thank you.
Katie, this might be kind of a no-brainer question, but I'm going to throw it out there. Is there anything you suggest, like just stop doing if you're doing it, that it makes you look dated or antiquated or out, I don't know, out of touch? Like just don't ever do that again, right?
Yeah, and sorry.
Like clip art, like
The
don't
voice is
put,
still it's gone. No, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Clip art might make a renaissance. We don't know yet. But for sure that the asking for engagement, I think, those kind of things people continue to do even though they've been told not to. I think, actually not doing that anymore is pretty antiquated. So you can do that, like you said, in a more creative kind of way. But just straight up asking like, share, comment is not exactly what we want anymore. And then I'm also trying to find that link to the AI as well. So give me just a second as I try to pull that up. But yeah, no, good question.
Katie, you're saying you're trying to find the link for the AI training?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I like your question, Jenny, because oftentimes, you have to do kind of like a postmortem on some projects to say, what do we do well? What do we do bad? What should we never do again? So yeah, the people that have a big fail, you learn a lot from that. And it's okay. That's how you learn. And I think sometimes we should Maybe one of these days we should have a webinar that everybody brings to the table a project that didn't go so well. Seriously, and we share. It could build some humility and learning and say, you know, what didn't go so well, because we know it happens, but someone tried it and they learned from it. So, and Katie did put the link in the chat. So Katie put the link in the chat for the training. That's training, correct, Katie? Okay.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
then,
it's a cohort. So
Okay.
be going through it with the class.
okay, cool. Oh,
And then earlier in the chat, I had put the link for the her Facebook Church Communicators group. So you'll see that in there as well.
right. I saw that in there as well. And then, Jenny also put in the chat our annual convention, RCC. I mentioned at the top of the hour, 95 years we've been doing this. And we are having our annual convention in April, coming up April 4, 5, and 6. It will be in Louisville, Kentucky. 3 days of workshops, plenaries. We have DeRose Hinkhouse Awards and Wilbur Awards. These are fabulous banquets to recognize work done within your faith-based communicators, and then also secular communicators. I know you can read what's in the chat, but I want to emphasize it. So reading it and repeating does make a difference. You can register there and see all the speakers and the bios and all the good stuff. And Brian added early bird extension until this Friday. So please go there and check it out. rccregistration.org. As simple as that. And you can learn more about what we have to offer. I strongly encourage you to at least go there and check it out. If you enjoyed what you experienced today on the webinar, go there and check it out. And I think we've got a handful of people that are on the webinar today that are already registered and attending. So you will be among friends. And what else, Jenny, before we sign off?
Well, we will post and get the slide decks out to you, and then we'll post the video of this on our RCC's YouTube channel. So if you want to revisit the whole presentation this way, it'll be posted as well.
Okay. All right. That is a wrap. Thank you all for attending. We hope to see you. We are not having a webinar in April because we have our convention, or excuse me, we are having a
do,
webinar
yeah.
in April. You can see us again. You can see us again on April 23rd, 2 p.m. Tuesday, April 23rd. This is great communication, how to move people, attract attention, and use research to help you do so more effectively. How to move people, attract attention, and use research to help you do so more effectively. Tuesday, 2 p.m. on April 23rd. So stay in touch with us, and we'll have another great webinar then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
everyone.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks,
Katie.
Katie.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.